Valkyr, our lovely female berserker. I love this Warframe, and I don't think I'll ever get tired of doing this. Or this. Or, you know, this. Or this. Or this. You know, sometimes I forget how incredibly fun Valkyr actually is. So first things first, to get Valkyr, you will have to defeat Alad V in the mission Themiso on Jupiter. And once you smack Alad V around a couple of times, you will be rewarded with the tankiest Warframe in the entire game, even though she only starts off with 100 health, which goes up to 300 at rank 30, and only 50 shields, which go up to 150 at rank 30. All of her tankiness comes from her abilities and also her armor value, because she has 600 armor, which is the highest out of all the Warframes. She's also faster than most other Warframes with sprint speed of 1.1, and she comes with 3 polarities, 2 Vs and an additional V in the aura slot. Her passive ability, Nimble, is actually pretty hard to demonstrate on camera because it makes her recover from knockdowns 50% faster. This can stack on top of Handspring and Constitution, so you can go up to 250% faster knockdown recovery. But that's not all. Since Valkyr is so nimble, she can land from great heights without stopping, which is pretty awesome, and it makes heavy impact even more of a useless mod on her because it will not trigger. Now, Valkyr is a melee tank. Her abilities are designed for melee, they make her tankier, they get her into combat very quickly, and she's basically just designed to rip the enemy to pieces with either her giant claws or your preferred melee weapon of choice. She's just a big, lovely, deadly ball of rage. So Valkyr's first ability is called Ripline, where Valkyr fires a grappling hook that will cover a range of 75 meters. If you manage to hit a wall or some sort of a terrain, you will be pulled towards that location, Spider-Man style. However, if you hit an ally or an enemy, they will be pulled towards you, and if you hit an enemy, it will also deal 600 slash damage to them, which is actually pretty high considering the cost of this ability. Ripline also comes with its own combo system, where if you manage to successfully cast Ripline in a window of 1 second after the previous cast, the damage will be multiplied by 200% and the energy cost will be reduced by 50%. And any successful cast after that will have damage multiplied by 400% and the energy cost will be reduced by 75%. Ripline is also a one-handed ability, so you can cast it while you're doing other things like reloading. It's completely silent, so it will not break stealth, and it doesn't work on bosses with the exception of the Zanuka Hunter, Ambulas, and Goosetrack 3. The damage of Ripline is of course affected by power strength, and the range is affected by power range. The augment for Ripline is called Swingline, where after using a Ripline, the next 4 Riplines will have no energy cost while you're airborne. And you can get this augment by reaching the rank of Partner under the Parent Sequence or the rank of Flawless under the new Loka, and it will cost you 25,000 standing. Valkyr's second ability is called Warcry, where Valkyr lets out a rallying cry, bolstering the attack speed and defenses of her allies while diminishing the attack speed and mobility of her enemies within 25 meters. Valkyr and her allies will gain 50% bonus attack speed and 50% bonus armor, and the enemies will have their actions slowed down by 30% for 15 seconds. The bonuses from Warcry of course apply to Valkyr and other players, but also companions, hostages, shadows, specters, and defense objectives. Yes, when you cast Warcry next to a cryopod, that cryopod will have 50% bonus armor. It will also have 50% bonus attack speed, but since, cryopods are douchebags and are mostly AFK, they won't really do much with that. Also, if an ally affected with Warcry enters a nullifier bubble, the bonuses will not be removed from him. However, if Valkyr enters a nullifier bubble, the bonuses will be dispelled from the entire group. And finally, both allies and enemies only need to be in range where Warcry is cast to be affected by either the buff or the debuff. The bonuses, so attack speed and armor, as well as the slow for enemies, are all affected by power strength, and the slow on enemies cannot exceed 75% under any circumstances. The duration is affected by power duration, and the radius of the buffs and debuffs is affected by power range. The augment for Warcry is called Eternal War, where, while active, Warcry's duration will be increased by 2 seconds for each melee kill. Meaning that if you go full melee with Valkyr, you can keep this up indefinitely. Now, Eternal War is affected by power duration in many ways. For instance, the duration increase per kill is affected by power duration. So if you have a lot of power duration, instead of getting 2 seconds with every melee kill, you will get 3 or maybe 4. And it also affects the cap to which you can stack Warcry, which will always be twice as much as the initial activation duration. So if you, for instance, start with a 30-second Warcry, you will be able to stack it up to 60 seconds. And you can get this augment by reaching the rank of Partner under the parent sequence or the rank of Flawless under the new Loka, and it will cost you 25,000 standing. Valkyr's third ability is called Paralysis, where Valkyr discharges her shield, stunning and damaging enemies within 10 meters while draining 33% of her current shields. Affected enemies are dealt Valkyr's current shield multiplied by 350% as impact damage. And the strength of the knockback is 1000, and I have absolutely no idea what that means. Damage from Paralysis also bypasses obstacles and is increased by body part multipliers, and on top of that, affected enemies will be stunned, opening them up for a finisher. And finally, you can drain overshields with Paralysis, and if you do so, it will do more damage. Now, the augment for Paralysis is called Prolonged Paralysis, where instead of knocking enemies back, it will pull them towards you, and the stun duration is increased by 200%. You can increase the stun duration even further with Power Strength, and the pull is not instantaneous. It will pull the enemies towards you gradually. The base range of the pull is only 5 meters, but it can be modified with power range, and enemies pulled towards you would just lay on the ground, allowing you to use a ground finisher on them. And you can get this augment by reaching the rank of Partner under the parent sequence or the rank of Flawless under the new Loka, and it will cost you 25,000 standing. And Valkyr's fourth and final ability is called Hysteria, where overcome with rage, Valkyr unleashes a pair of claws and becomes immune to all damage and status effects. While under the effects of Hysteria, normal attacks will do 250 base damage within 2 meters, wall and slide attacks will do 750 base damage for each strike, aerial attacks will do 500 base damage, and slam attacks will do 300 base damage within a 5-meter radius. On top of that, all attacks will have a 200% critical damage multiplier with a 50% critical strike chance and a 10% status chance. And if that's not enough awesome for you, she will also be healed for 5% of the total melee damage dealt. And the base damage of all the attacks will be distributed evenly between impact, puncture, and slash. Now, one downside of Hysteria is that while you're under the effects of it, you will store 30% of all the damage you ignored, and if there are any enemies within 5 meters, once you deactivate Hysteria, you will be dealt 25% of all that damage that you've stored as impact damage. This, of course, can be avoided if you deactivate Hysteria while there are no enemies around. And finally, while under the effects of Hysteria, you cannot use other weapons, you are stuck with the claws, but you can use other abilities. Now, the damage you do while under the effects of Hysteria is affected by many things. So for Valkyr, there is Steel Charge, Power Strength, and the melee combo counter. But you can also increase the performance of Hysteria by modding your melee weapon with either physical damage mods like Pressure Point or Spoiled Strike, elemental damage mods like Fever Strike and Shocking Touch, and basically everything. Critical strike chance, critical damage works, status chance works, channeling works. The only things that do not work are weapon augments like Justice Blades, or class-specific mods like Covered Lethality, or stat-modifying skins like the Manticore skin. Now, the drain on Hysteria is affected by both power efficiency and power duration, where efficiency is much stronger, so mods like Fleeting Expertise are worth it. And the range of the aura that you get damaged by once you deactivate Hysteria and there are enemies with it is affected by power range. And finally, Hysteria has its own stance, which is described as a stance where Valkyr is imbued with energy and becomes a ball of vicious rage capable of unleashing a torrent of deadly claw attacks on unsuspecting foes. Now, I already made a full video about this stance, so if you want to know more about it, simply click the annotation that will be over the mod card and it will take you to that video. Now, I really don't know what to say about Valkyr to kind of wrap this video up, because there is so much good about her. I love tanky frames, and she's the tankiest frame. I mean, 600 armor is a lot of bloody armor, especially if you multiply it with steel fiber and maybe even armored agility. You know, I have a long history with Valkyr. She's been with me for a very long time, and I simply love going full melee with her. There is something incredibly satisfying about going completely berserk and blending enemies to pieces. And since I'm a YouTuber, I know that you guys love her and enjoy playing with her as well. Because I can't even tell you how many times I've read the comment of, yeah, this sortie is pretty easy if you do it with Valkyr, lol. So if you don't have Valkyr already, just go and get Valkyr. It's worth it. I mean, it's just Salad V, and Jupiter is one of the earlier planets in the solar system, so you don't have to be too far into the game to get her. She's pretty cheap to build, and she can be very effective even without any forma, with just a potato, okay? So just go and get her, have a bunch of fun, blend a bunch of enemies with your favorite melee weapon, and that's pretty much all I wanted to say. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. I thank you very much for watching once again, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.